Today we are going to discuss one of the important topics in the signals and system, that is the random variable, CDF and the PDF. ये बहुत ही important topic है. There are number of applications on the probabilities, random variables, CDF and the PDF, because most of the natural phenomenon occurs in terms of the probability. Probability मतलब it is kind of the prediction. The different example of the probabilities are share market prices. सभी को लगता है कि हमें ज़्यादा पैसा मिलना चाहिए. Most of the people put their money in the share market, मगर सभी को ज़्यादा फायदा नहीं हो सकता because उनका उतना स्टडी नहीं होता. Even prediction of the rainfall of the city or the prediction of the population, or if you want to predict in the class that how many student will pass in the distinction, how many student will fail, so that it is difficult to predict. But the human being जो है वो predict कर सकता है. कैसे predict कर सकता है? Based on the experience. मगर this human being is also predicting based on the mathematics. उसी तरह there is some theories available, and that theory is called as the probability, random variables and the CDF and the PDF. Most of the research in the world take place with the help of the probability, random variables, CDF and the PDF. Even the analysis of the ECG signal, analysis of the EEG signals, analysis of the audio signal, speech signal. So lot of research is going on with the help of the probabilities, random variables and CDF and the PDF. So we have seen in the signal processing that there are the two type of signals. One is called as the deterministic signal. So deterministic signals are those signals which can be represented using fixed mathematical equation, or whose behavior can be predicted ahead of the time. For example, if I write a signal x of t is equal to sine of omega t, ये अगर signal है तो I can predict what will be the amplitude of the signal at the any time. So such type of the signals are called as the deterministic signal. Another signals are there. So this is called as the random signal. So the signal which cannot be represented using fixed mathematical equation is called as the random signal. And the behavior also cannot be predicted ahead of the time, and most of the natural signals are the random signal. तो random signal analyze करना is बहुत ही difficult task है. अगर आप if you understand the technique to analyze the random signal, then you can do lot of things. So main role of engineer है कि हमें we have to develop the applications on the random signals. So उसके लिए ये chapter बहुत ही important है. So therefore this is also included in the syllabus of the signals and system. Now let us discuss with the random variables, CDF and the PDF. Random variable. The random variable starts from the sample space. आप लोगों को पता है कि sample space मतलब क्या? It is set of all possible outcomes of an experiment is called as a sample space. For example, I have the die. Okay. If I throw the die, there are the 6 possibilities are there. The face of the die will be 1, face of the die will be 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So the sample space of the experiment throwing the die, it will be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and the 6. So these are the possible outcomes, and this is called as the sample space. If suppose I perform another experiment, if I have the 2 coins and if I throw the 2 coins simultaneously, what are the possible outcomes? The possible outcomes are there could be 2 heads, there could be 1 head and the 1 tail, there could be 1 tail and the 1 head, and there could be 2 tails. So this particular the set of all possible outcomes is called as the sample space, and we are finding the probability of a particular event from the set of the sample space using the probability. But if we want to model this particular experiment with the help of some distribution model, so we are going to use the CDF and the PDF. For that, it is required to define the random variable. So before going to the random variable, we must know what is a variable. Okay. So there are two things. One is called as the variable. Another is called as the constant. So you know constant means a variable which takes a fixed value, for example. So throughout its life, the value of this letter k, it is equal to always 1. So this is called as a constant. Variable means it may take the any values. For example, it may take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The variable can be represented as here the x, it can be represented y, it can be represented as the z, which takes any values. That is called as the variable. Now what is the random variable? The random variable. So this random variable is associated with the probability, that is the experiment. When we are performing any experiment, the outcome of any event cannot be predicted. So therefore that is called as the random experiment, and the variable which is associated with that particular probability or the random experiment is called as the random variable. So generally this random variable is represented with the help of the capital letter, with that could be x, or that could be y, or that could be any variable. So the random variable is nothing but a variable, or it is a function. So random variable is a function. Okay, you know what is a function. So it can be represented with the any letter. So that is the x, which maps all the sample space on some real number. So this is called as the random variable. For example, the random variable I want to represent, that is equal to x, which indicates the number of heads of an experiment. I have performed the experiment. So number of heads is represented by the x. Here the number of heads, when the two HR, the number of heads are 2. Here number of head is 1. Here number of head is 1. Here the number of the head is a 0. When I map all the sample space on some random variable, that x, which takes a real number, or which takes all the integer number or the discrete number. So this is called the random variable. So accordingly, the number of heads, it could be 0, number of heads could be 1, number of heads could be 2. So the HH is mapped that number of heads are equal to 2. Here number of heads are 1. Here the number of heads are 1. Here the number of heads are 0. Now onwards, instead of remembering the sample space, we are finding the probability with the help of the random variable, that is the x. So random variable is nothing but a variable or the function which maps the sample space onto some values. And there are two types of the random variable. One is called as the discrete random variable, and second is called as a continuous random variable. So discrete random variable is that variable in which the random variable take only the discrete values on the line. Discrete means it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From the minus infinite to infinite, only it will take the discrete values. That is the finite values. And the continuous random variable is that variable which takes any possible values on the line from the minus infinite to infinite. For example, discrete means it will take only the integer values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or the minus 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you take the continuous, it could be 1.1, 1.0.1, or 1.1111. So any values are possible. So that type of the value is called as the continuous random variable. So in all, the random variable is nothing but a function which is represented by the capital letter, and which maps all the sample space on some numerical values. That is called as the random variable. Now random variable, again we will understand with the help of the example. For example, a sample space जिधर मैं दो एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहा हूँ, मेरे पास एक 2 कॉइन्स है. अगर 2 कॉइन मैं दोनों भी टॉस करूंगा तो देयर आर डिफरेंट पॉसिबिलिटीज आ सकते हैं. वो पॉसिबिलिटीज है कि 2 हेड्स आएंगे, 1 हेड 1 टेल, 1 टेल 1 हेड, और द 2 टेल्स विल बी देयर. और अभी मुझे ये सैंपल स्पेस रैंडम वेरिएबल पे मैप करना है और मुझे उसका प्रोबेबिलिटी फाइंड आउट करना है. अब रैंडम वेरिएबल आई एम रिप्रेजेंटिंग विद द हेल्प ऑफ द एक्स. लेट एक्स बी द रैंडम वेरिएबल which indicates number of heads of an experiment. Now मुझे अभी probability find out करना है. So this probability, for example, मुझे ये find out करना है, P मतलब probability of the random variable, in which the number of heads are 1. different possibilities है कि number of heads 0 रहेंगे, number of heads 1 रहेंगे, या number of heads 2 रहेंगे. So probability of x is equal to x. मतलब capital X is a random variable and small x is equal to the some outcomes of the random variable. And outcomes of the random variable, x could be number of heads are possible or 0, number of heads will be 1, number of heads will be 2. अभी मुझे probability find out करना है. For example, probability of x is equal to 0. That if x is equal to 0, that indicates probability of the random variable x in which number of heads are 0. अगर number of heads total possibilities are the 4 possibilities are there. So how many times, कितने बार x is equal to 0 आता है? Number of heads is equal to 0. If you look here, number of heads 0 एक ही time आता है. So the possibilities are the one possibility is there when the x is equal to 0. When x is equal to 1, number of heads is equal to 1. So there are the two possibilities are there. It is possible 2 times possible है. Our number of heads is equal to 2. Small x is equal to 2. It is also possible for the 1 times. अगर probability आपको find out करना है, number of heads is equal to 0, that x is equal to 0 is equal to total possibilities are 4. You know the definition of the probability. Number of possible outcome divided by total number of outcomes. So number of the possible outcome that x is equal to 0 1 time said possible है 1 divided by total possible outcomes are 4. So probability of x is equal to 0 is equal to 1 by 4. Similarly आपको find out करना है probability of x is equal to 1. So this is equal to 2 times one head possible है. So this is equal to 2 by 4. Number of heads possible, 2 heads are possible, that is 1 time. So this is equal to 1 by 4. So this terminology is very important. Probability of x is equal to small x. Capital X indicates random variable and small x indicates the possible outcomes. So just you remember, and this is going to help you to understand the concept of the cumulative distribution function, that is CDF. Now let us understand the concept of the PMF. PMF का मतलब होता है कि probability mass function. Second है कि CDF, that is called as the cumulative distribution function. Cumulative मतलब addition of all the previous probabilities. Now let us take the example of the sample space. जो मैं experiment perform कर रहा हूँ, 2 coins simultaneously toss कर रहा हूँ. The different outcome possible है कि head tail, tail head and the tail. Now I want to convert this sample space to the random variable capital X, where the capital X indicates the number of heads. So therefore X जो है, it will take different values, like the number of heads could be 0, number of heads could be 1, number of heads could be 2. अगर probability mass function का meaning होता है probability of the random variable x is equal to number of possible outcome, that is a small x. The small x may be 0, small x may be 1, small x may be 2. Abhi now the number of heads possible are 0. The probability of the random variable where number of heads is equal to 0 already we have seen. So this is equal to 1 by 4. तो हमने देखा है total 4 possibilities. एक ही time the number of heads 0 possible है. Number of heads 1 possible है, it is 2 times because in the head tail and the tail head. So therefore the probability for this is equal to 2 by 4. And number of heads 2 times possible है, एक बार. So the probability of this x is equal to 2 is equal to 1 by 4. और जो probability of x is equal to this particular outcome is there. So this is called as the probability mass function. Basically probability mass function is used in the civil engineering also. When you put the slab on the particular building, so the load at the particular point is called as the probability mass function. उस outcome का probabilities कितना है, उसको हम probability mass function बोलते हैं. दूसरा very important term is there and it is very easy, that is called as the CDF. आप लोगों को अगर ये terminology basic concept समझ में आ गया, तो you can solve any problem on this cumulative distribution function. And this cumulative distribution function, the CDF, is represented by the capital letter F of this fx, मतलब the CDF of the random variable capital X of the small x. So just to remember, fx of the small x is called as the cumulative distribution function. And this cumulative distribution function, so whatever it is there, इसके पहले नहीं है कोई भी probabilities, मतलब ये as it is रहेगा. When you want to calculate this CDF for the small x is equal to 1, so this will be this probability plus this probability. It is addition of both the terms. So 1 by 4 plus 2 by 4, it is 3 by 4. It is a cumulative addition of previous probabilities. Similarly, the CDF of the small x is equal to 2 है, so it is addition of this cumulative, मतलब this plus this plus this. 1 plus 2 plus 3 is a 4. 4 by 4, it is equal to 1. अगर आप लोगों को ऐसा क्वेश्चन आता है, so for the experiment tossing the two coins simultaneously. And if the random variable x is equal to number of heads, sketch the CDF. CDF you calculate with the help of this table, and the CDF graph आपको निकालना है. So here the x-axis is over the random variable, then over the y-axis is the CDF, which is represented by apex of the x. And different possible values of your the small x are 0, then 1, and it is 2. And you know that the probability of this 0, CDF of 0 is 1 by 4. So here it will be 1 by 4. And यहाँ पे 3 by 4 है. So here it will be 3 by 4. Here it will be, the 1 will be there. The CDF of this 0 will be 1 by 4. CDF of 1, that is a less than or equal to 1, जो है इतना ही रहेगा. और when this small x takes 1 value, the CDF will become 3 by 4. So here, so up to 1, it is 1 by 4. So when it will become 1, so it will be 3 by 4. And here up to 2, so it will be 3 by 4. And when it is greater than or equal to greater than 2, then it will become the 1. So up to this, so it is 3 by 4, and that is less than or equal to 2. When it will become 2 or greater than 2, so it will be 1. So this is called as your the CDF sketch. So such type of problems will be asked for the examination to find out the CDF of the some random experiment where the random variable x indicates some possible outcome like the number of heads, etc. So this is the example of the CDF, which is very easy to understand.